right, show you another abnormal reading here. That's about 2. And look at my PSI on there. Wow. All right, look at that. Went to 0, and my PSI is what is that? It's about probably like 20. All right, here we go. Back at this Rx7. Today on this video, we're gonna do an engine pressure test. I got the kit right over here, ready to go. OTC. I got all the adapters and hoses, all I need. So, concern on this is on a cold idle, first start up, pressure goes up about 50 psi around that area. When it's warm, on idle, it just dropped to like the gauge just dropped to 0. I got a shot a couple weeks ago when it was plus 30 Celsius outside, and that's how it looked like. It's really low on idle. So we're gonna hook up that pressure test kit, and then we're gonna pressure test this thing. All right, guys. So you notice that there's that glow shift sandwich adapter kit right there, because I'm thinking of putting aftermarket glow shift oil pressure gauge on this. So I just kind of put it in there just to line it up, make sure that it fits. It's gonna quickly take out this filter here, and then show you my setup. So on this adapter plate, it's really nice how it's low profile, and then the filter doesn't hit this sensor connector here. I seen one that they put a little dent on this filter so that it will fit. On this case, I don't need that, because this one right here is nice, snug, perfect to the height of the intake manifold. Alright, so here's the adapter plate, here's a sensor. Alright guys, so let's prep this adapter plate right here. There's 4 holes, so we're gonna block off 3, because all we need is 1 right here, this brass fitting. Alright, so there we go. Alright, let's put this in. Rubber gasket down here is going down to the base plate. I'm just gonna nice and snug it. So you need an inch socket to get this thing nice and snug. Alright, so we're just gonna line her up just like that. Nice and snug. Alright, I think that's good enough. Alright guys, so that's nice and solid now. Just double check everything. Looks good to me. Alright guys, so I end up changing my fittings, because the fitting I had before, it won't adapt to this size right here. So now I got the right one. Alright, that would screw right in there. It's a little smaller, 1/8 going to a 1/4. That's my size right there. So let's put this back together again. Alright guys, that's nice and tight. So here's my setup right there. Okay, here's that surface hose right here that we're gonna tap into the gauge at the end of that hose. Everything, all the fitting is nice and snug. We'll put the filter on now. Alright, there we go. So this test right here is gonna give us a true pressure, what this oil will put out. I'm not exactly sure what our spec on this yet, but we'll look it up later when we see what's the number that this gauge will give us. And you can see down there, I don't know if you can see it, oil sensor down there. That sends our gauge inside the vehicle. Who knows, that sensor is probably screwed, or maybe our gauge is screwed. This test right here will give us an accurate reading, and we know exactly what's our pressure. Alright, so I apologize that I don't have my spec book with me. I don't know what's the spec on this oil pressure. Right now we're just gonna run it, see what we got, and then we're just gonna go from there. So you can see PSI is down here and kilopascals is on the middle. Alright, so I'm guessing we'll be around this area right here, 60 to 90. We'll give this thing a good idle start, and let's see how this gauge will put out. Alright guys, let's go start the engine. If you can hear me, but it's about 100. It's gonna go down when the idle is stable. The pressure is gonna go down. But meanwhile, let's go in the gauge. So you can see it was about 100 on our idle. The gauge is right there. It's about 5. Gonna keep it idle and wait till it's warm up, and let's see what kind of result we can get. Alright guys, so it's been running for about a couple minutes now. You can see kilogram per square inch. It went down to, what is that, 3. Alright, still on a cold idle though, 3. So let's see what our gauge show up. So that's about 40. Yeah, it's about 40. So 3 kilogram per square inch in the gauge come up as a 4 psi. So conversion with that, it will come out with this right there. Alright guys, we're inside the driver's seat. We're gonna compare this to right here. You can see down there is the gauge. So the car up there is the service gauge, OTC. It went down to 2 now. PSI is 30. Alright, look at that. Went to 0. And my PSI is, what is that? It's about probably like 20. This is what I mean guys, that it goes down to I seen worse when it's warm out. I seen worse that it goes to like 0. It just makes you panic, that you think that you have no pressure on your engine. And on our PSI gauge is about, what is that, maybe 10 or 20 PSI. So it just really bothers me. We'll blip the gas pedal here. The accurate reading on here, but this is just makes you wanna clench your teeth and pull over and make sure that you got pressure on your engine. So all right, you see that when the engine was shut, a little drop of gauge pressure went down. So that was probably like 5 psi or something like that on idle. I'm not exactly sure, because you can see the line right here, every line is 5. So Then I'm guessing it was 5 psi on idle. Let's quickly change our gauge here to a more little accurate on a low psi. You can tell 0 to 10, 20. So this will give us a low psi reading. Every big line here is a 5 psi, so 5, 10, 15, 20. All right, let's start this again, and then just watch on that gauge right there. You can see it's just sitting on the 15, 12 psi. That's not bad. It's been probably running for like 10-15 minutes now, so that's pretty good on idle. Alright guys, I busted out my multimeter here. We're gonna do ohms on this oil pressure sensor. It's way down there, buried way down there. Hopefully you can see that. This big piece of hose is on the way. Alright, right there. Alright, so here we go. So here's the connector. This is my pressure sensor right there. There's a white wire tapped behind that connector because that's tapped to my red leads on my multimeter, and then the black leads is gonna be grounding to the block, and that's kind of reading that we're gonna get. This is a one wire single pole sensor. So let's do a continuity test, make sure we got a good connection. So on the red, on one white wire right here, you can see it's connected to the back of the connector. So if I touch the front, this would have a beep. There you go. So that means we are good. We have a good connection. All right, so let's put this to resistance. Let's do 20K. All right, red leads to that connector of the sensor, and the black leads will ground to the block, to the engine. Put it on the alternator bracket here. So there you go. You get that reading. So my pressure gauge is still on here, so we're gonna have a 2 reading will show in here. Okay, so let's give this thing a start. Alright, so I switched to voltage. This is just volts. It's not gonna give us a good reading on voltage. Alright guys, I took all that pressure gauge and multimeter out. I put the sensor, glow shift sensor right there. Aftermarket, we're gonna be running a wire on that sensor going inside the driver's seat and put a gauge on it. Hope this video helps you guys out. I've seen some videos out there, this kind of setup, and I'm just gonna do on my own video the way how I do it, doing this kind of test. So hopefully that helps you guys out, and then on our next video we're gonna be installing those gauges out and the boost gauge. So once again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on our next one.